Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Today in this video I'm going to check the Emax Tinyhawk Micro Brushless Swoop, the younger brother of the Emax Baby Hawk R Pro and the Emax Hawk 5. In this video I'm going to go over its features, show you how to set it up and test it both indoors and outdoors. The Tinyhawk comes inside this Emax branded nice carrying case. Inside you can find the instructions manual both in Chinese and English, the Tinyhawk, stickers, a spare joystick connectors, screws and also rubber dampers, and a USB charger that will enable you to charge 4 batteries simultaneously. In addition, we can also find a 450 mAh 1S LHV battery, which is Emax branded but is manufactured by G&B. The Tinyhawk features a pretty interesting design. As you can see, the motors are located on the bottom, so it is a little bit different than the Tiny Whoops that you've seen so far, such as the Mobile 7, the US65, and etc. One of the advantages of this design, first of all, you can see it is pretty much protected and also the frame is flexible, so I don't think it's going to break easily. And another nice thing is that the motors are pushing the propeller to the top, so it's going to be impossible for the propeller to be detached during the flight. And I can tell you that I've already flown this quadcopter and these propellers are pretty much indestructible, and that's probably the reason you're not getting an extra set of propellers inside the kit. In terms of components, the Tinyhawk is using 0802.5 15,000 kV brushless motors. The propellers are 3-bladed 40mm props. The motors are connected on top using these 3-pins connectors, so it makes the replacement of the motor pretty easy. The flight controller is an F4 flight controller. It comes pre-flashed with Betaflight 3.5.1 and it has a built-in D8 FrSky receiver, so this is the only option and you cannot get it with a different type of receiver. At the moment of shooting this video, only the bind and fly version is available, but as far as I know, Emax is going to release a ready-to-fly version, which is going to be bundled with a radio transmitter and maybe even with FPV goggles. The battery connector is a JST 2mm plug and it is connected to the flight controller using 22 AWG wires. On top you can find a 600 TV line Cmos Camera, which is connected to a 25mW 37 channels VTX, which supports smart audio, and you can also configure it using the button over here. The 4-in-1 3A BLLES ESC is integrated to the flight controller and it supports up to D-Shot 600. And by the way, if you'd like to add your own receiver and you don't like the built-in one or you want to use it with a different type of remote controller, you can add one to the flight controller. And for example, if you'd like to use a DC mix receiver, you can simply add one using these pads that are located next to the bind button. So you can find over here a plus 3.3 volts out, ground and RX1 pads. Binding the built-in FrSky D8 receiver is done by putting your transmitter on mode D8, then hit bind and power up the Tinyhawk either using the micro USB port, which is located on the top of the flight controller, or by using a battery while pressing the bind button, which is located over here. After a successful bind, you're not going to get the RSSI on your transmitter. However, this D8 receiver does output the RSSI on auxiliary 5, so you'll be able to monitor the RSSI of the receiver on the OSD. Charging the batteries is done either by using your own charger or you can use the included charger. This small USB charger will enable you to charge both LiPo and LHV batteries, so you can see that when the LEDs are pointed right, it's going to be set to LHV. And you can also switch to LiPo batteries by pressing this button for 3 seconds. And then the indication of the LED is going to change to the left position, which is going to indicate that now it is set to charge LiPo batteries. Since the included battery is an LHV battery, in order to get the maximum flight time, make sure that the charger is set to charge LHV batteries. Now I'm going to quickly measure the output current of this charger. And you can see it's kind of fluctuating, but it is mostly around 0.4 amperes. And I actually tested it also with multiple batteries and it is pretty much stable at 0.4 amperes per battery that is being charged. In terms of dimensions, the wheelbase of the Tinyhawk is 75mm. The length between the front part of the quadcopter to the back one is about 110mm. Its width is about 94mm and its total height is about 38mm. Its weight without the included battery is 28.1 grams, and after adding it, the weight is 41 grams. So you can see it is just a little bit heavier than the Mobile 7 that weighs 27.8 grams, and with this 450 mAh battery, it weighs 40.7 grams. Actually, if you own a Mobile 7 and you would like to use this battery, it is possible. You can see it fits pretty much perfectly on the bottom of the quadcopter, so you can use it for flying 1S instead of using two 1S batteries. The easiest way to configure the VTX is using the Smart Audio protocol. It's already pre-configured, so you don't have to do any setup in Betaflight. In order to set up the frequency, you have to put the throttle on mid position, tilt it to the left, and then tilt the pitch to the top. This is going to open the OSD settings on Betaflight, and then you can just go to Features, VTX Smart Audio, and then you can just configure the band and channel over here. Some channels are blocked, so you have a total of 37 options, and you can just refer to the user manual and see which ones are available. The Tinyhawk already comes pre-tuned, so you don't have to do any PID settings, but you will need to change the profile in case you want to increase the rates, because the default rates are pretty mild. So in order to access it, you need to go to the profile menu, and then you can just go to the rate profile. The default one is 1, and you can also change it to 2 and 3, which are identical. And of course, you can also change the settings either using Betaflight or using the OSD. So on my test flight, I tested both the default settings, which are set on profile number 1, and also using a little bit more aggressive settings, which are set under profile number 2. The next thing I'm going to do is to go over Betaflight configuration, and then I'm going to test the Tinyhawk both indoors and outdoors. I hope you will enjoy the rest of this video, and I will see you in the end of it in order to give you my conclusion. So overall, after testing the Emax Tinyhawk, I can tell you that this is probably the best option for a beginner who's looking for his first micro brushless swoop. It is very easy to set up and also to control, especially when the rate profile is set to number 1. And as you advance, you can play around with the settings and also set the rate profile to number 2, and then the quadcopter becomes much more agile. In addition, the frame is very durable, but not indestructible. I did break it after a bad crash, but I think that even if one of the plastic parts is going to be missing, it's not going to destroy the frame. And also these propellers are pretty much indestructible, and if you're going to break the propeller, probably something much worse is going to happen to the quadcopter, and then you're going to have other trouble to care for. In terms of flight time, you can expect about 3.5 minutes using the included 450 mAh LHV battery when not pushing the throttle too much, and if you're going to push it like I did on some of my flights, you can expect about 2.5 minutes. In terms of range, I got around 150 meters without any problems, and I was pretty much limited by the VTX and not by the receiver. I actually never got a failsafe. I also got a little bit farther, I think to around 200 meters when testing a prototype receiver, which you've seen in parts of the video where the image was pretty much shaky, and that was not because of the quadcopter, it was because the receiver wasn't set to the correct picture format. On one of my crashes, the camera was misplaced, so what I recommend to do if it happens to you and it feels like it's kind of wobbling inside is to put just a little bit super glue over here, and then it's going to make sure that the camera is fixed. In terms of performance, the quadcopter felt pretty much powerful, but it is not an acrobatic quadcopter such as the Mobula 7, so if you're looking for more action, of course the Mobula 7 is going to be the way to go, especially because it runs on 2S LiPo batteries, whereas the Tinyhawk can operate only on a 1S battery. But I think that even when the Mobula 7 was on 1S, it felt just a little bit more powerful than the Tinyhawk, which might be also a good thing when flying the Tinyhawk indoors, because then it's going to be a little bit easier to control than the Mobula 7. Now I'm going to show you, in my opinion, the biggest problem of the Emax Tinyhawk. Let's say you had a good time, you were flying around, but then you crashed. So of course you can go to your quadcopter and just flip it, but a very convenient way of flipping it is using the crash after flip. So you'll just have to set it up on the remote controller, arm the quadcopter, and then just flip it using the roll or the pitch. But as you can see, no matter what you're going to do, due to its shape, the Tinyhawk is just not going to flip. And this might be a major issue because let's say you crashed on a tent or somewhere you cannot reach the Tinyhawk. It's going to be much harder to recover it than just using the crash after flip, which is easily done on other brushless swoops such as the Mobula 7 and the US65. So this is something that I think that you should know. Maybe it's going to be a deal breaker for you, or maybe you're just not going to care. Anyway, besides this problem, I think that the Tinyhawk is a great brushless swoop. It might not be an acrobatic flyer, but still it's very fun to fly it around the house or just outdoors on your yard. And I don't think that you're going to be disappointed if you're going to decide to get it. As always, I thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it and you find it useful. If you have any questions about the Tinyhawk, please feel free to ask it in the comment section down below. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up if you like this video, and consider subscribing to my channel and hitting the notification bell if you're not already subscribed. See you in my next videos, and goodbye.